hypoeutectoid steel, right? If this is eutectoid, then any composition carbon less than this is hypoeutectoid, right? So you take anything here which is less than 0.76% carbon. So this is hypoeutectoid steel. So let us see what will happen, right? You have austenized it, so everything is gamma austenite. Then some alpha starts to form, right? Then more alpha starts to form, and then everything converts into alpha and cementite. So you will have this type of a structure. You should be able to draw these type of quick diagrams, that here I have only gamma. When it touches here, some alpha is coming from here, so some small alpha is there. When we go down, these alphas become more. So the gamma is there, but more gamma has turned into alpha. And once it touches this line, then whatever remaining gamma was there, all of the remaining gamma has turned into perlite, which is alpha and cementite. So there was alpha already there, but in this striped one, there is again alpha and cementite. So there is above this temperature and below this temperature, right? So pro-eutectoid, right? That before reaching eutectoid. So all this alpha is pro-eutectoid alpha, and the alpha after this is eutectoid alpha. So the blue sections are all pro-eutectoid alpha, and in the red, this is eutectoid alpha and eutectoid cementite. And under the microscope now it looks like this, right? So this is done earlier, but I have explained it in a little more detail because we are revising earlier course again. Hyper-eutectoid steel now, right? So again, if this is the eutectoid composition, any steel here is hypo, any steel more than this is hyper-eutectoid. Any steel in this region is hyper-eutectoid steel. So as an example, we take any steel here, say 1.34% carbon. This is, and then what happens again as we go along? So initially austenite, right? But this time you go here. So when you hit this line, then you get this thing. Then you get gamma plus cementite, right? When you were here, you were interacting with alpha. This time you are interacting with gamma and cementite. So cementite has started to form. More cementite, right? And all this cementite which is formed above 727 is the pro-eutectoid cementite. And once it hits the line, all the remaining gamma is converted into perlite. Perlite is alpha plus cementite, right? So more cementite is formed. So, right, this earlier cementite, in the red lines, the earlier cementite is pro-eutectoid cementite, and inside the other later ones, more cementite is there, which is the eutectoid cementite and alpha and so on, right? So just again go through this more carefully because you are trying to understand steel again, which you have done a lot earlier. Phase transformations, of course, right? You know that there is nucleation and there is growth, right? So some new nuclei, just as we showed you that there is austenite, but when it hits the line, which is the boundary line between austenite and ferrite, then some alpha ferrite start to happen. So that is the nucleation, right? The forming of new nuclei in many places of small alpha. Then it grows, that alpha grows as you have seen, so that is growth, right? So we have gamma, we have been cooling for less than 1 second. After 3 seconds, some of the gamma has changed to perlite. Say after 9 seconds, all the gamma has changed into perlite, right? So how much time do you give for the transformation? That is why from the earlier courses until now, we have been talking of homogeneous processes and equilibrium processes. So if there is enough time, then this nucleation and the growth to the structure that you normally see happens. So if you have any austenitic steel means, right, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, and you are cooling from the austenite region, if you give it enough time to do homogeneous transformation, equilibrium transformation, then it will always convert to perlite, you know, right, alpha plus cementite. So it is 1%, 1.5%, 0.5% carbon steel. If you give it enough time to transform, then it will always convert to perlite, and perlite is ferrite mixed with cementite. The Avrami equation, right? We have done an example of this in earlier courses. Now you know, right? The person who started this, this type of an equation where something is a constant and an exponent, both, right? Then it has a certain name. If you remember, in thermodynamics we also have equations like this, that there is a constant and then there is e raised to something. They are all called Arrhenius type equations. But well, so the Avrami equation is used to evaluate the fraction of material Y converted to a new phase as a function of time, right? You are transforming from austenite to ferrite, for example. So what fraction of austenite will be transformed into the new phase given us time small t, right? So this is it. This K and N are constants for a given material at a given temperature. The small t is the time. Capital T will be the temperature if it is there, right? And Y is the fraction of the material that has converted. The rate of transformation follows this Arrhenius equation. Rate of transformation, Q naught exponent minus EA upon RT. You know now Q naught is a specific energy, material specific constant, material specific. EA is the activation energy. Capital R is a standard, it is the gas constant, and capital T is a standard, it is the temperature generally in Kelvin and so on. So this is the Avrami equation. This tells you what fraction of a material will change if you have so much cooling time, and this tells you that what will be the rate of transformation from one material to the other. So these two are very critical equations where now the understanding of the phase diagrams becomes easier, right? At your lower level you understand the phase diagram, you know that this will happen, but how to control it, right? By changing the time, by changing the rate of cooling, by changing the temperature. How do we control the things in a phase diagram? So this is the science behind it. Transformation curves. Now here and in other places, you see, because in this particular class you are a mix of two types, right? One type of students are taking an elective course in their final year, right? They are about to graduate. The other kind of students are master's students, postgraduate students who are taking a beginning graduate level course, right? So this is the highest level of undergraduate, elective undergraduate course, and the beginning graduate level course. And those guys, especially here in our university, who are currently studying, they have done 2 courses in material science. But the guys who are coming from the industry back now or from some other place may have done only 1 material science course. So I can only apologize that sometimes the material that I am covering in detail even will be new for one group and will be sort of a repeat from the second course of materials for the other. So for this I have to apologize, but because this is a mixed class, so this will happen. So okay, back to our topic, transformation curves. For most metals, a curve comparing fractional conversion to the logarithm of time can be constructed to show the time spent in nucleation and the onset of grain growth. Unfortunately, the plot is only valid at one temperature. So this is huge, very, very difficult and time consuming for the experimental materials engineer. If we are doing this at 800 Celsius, then totally different curves. If we are doing it at 700 Celsius, then totally different curves, and so on. Because you are seeing that at this temperature, if you cool for a longer time, what will happen? So you don't allow the temperature to change. So this is an isothermal conversion, right? You have cooled to whatever temperature. You have cooled from 900 to 800. You have cooled from 800 to 750. But now you hold at 750 until whatever time you are studying, for 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 hour, and see how it changes, right? So the plot is only valid at one temperature. So here is percent transformation, how much transformation has happened, and here is time, right? So 10 raised to minus 1, because this is a logarithmic scale, right? So it is in powers of 10. 10 raised to minus 1, 1, 10, 100. It is, right, powers of 10. So here, very small time, right? From 0.1 to 1 second, the nucleation takes place, right? Some new nuclei, for example, from austenite to ferrite. So some new nuclei of ferrite have formed. So by this time, some new nuclei are there. Now as you grow in time, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, up to 10 seconds, right? And then 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 100 seconds. So now the growth of these nuclei, how does it happen? This is 50% transformation. This is 100% transformation. So by this time, a little more than 10, maybe 11, all the material has transformed into the second phase. By this time, 50% transformation has taken place, right? So percent transformation versus logarithm of time for conversion of austenite to perlite, for example. Austenite to perlite, right? So this is actual practical. This is not a schematic diagram. This is actual practical. That less than 1 second, the nucleation has taken place. Then from about 1 second to 10, 11 seconds, the transformation of austenite is happening to perlite. And if you see here, this is about 5 seconds, 4 seconds. This is logarithmic, so you have to be careful. In about this time, 50% of austenite has converted to perlite. By about 11 seconds, almost all austenite has converted to perlite, right? So transformation curve. So rate of phase transformation, the same diagram, sort of again the fractional transformation, and here the time, and right, fixed capital T, so at one temperature only. So the Avrami equation, isn't it, that y is 1 minus exponent of minus ktn. So how much fraction has been converted? So if this is some time, right, so the time at half of it, so you, right, so you see here it is, we want to find 50% transformation. So hit this curve and find the time. So this is the time for 50% transformation. If you want 40%, then take 0.4 here, hit the line and say how much time it will take. So this is now an equation and a chart and a graph that will tell you that if you want only 50% of it to be transformed, you want the other to remain, then how much time should I hold it at that temperature? So you see, now you learn the technique. Remember that we were saying some isothermal transformation. One is quenching. You suddenly cool it. Lots of martensite is there. But then if you want to find bainite and coarse perlite and fine perlite, then you take it below 727, hold it at that temperature for some time, and then suddenly cool it back again, right? So here that if I want only 50% of it to be transformed to perlite, so do for that time and then suddenly cool it again, right? So you are learning the science of this transformation as real materials engineers do.